So now that we have discussed how to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials, we're going to look at dimensions, perimeter, area, and volume. So a dimension is a direction, and in our world there are essentially 4 different dimensions. 0 dimension has no direction. That is just a point. There is no unit of measurement because it cannot be measured. 1 dimensional is one direction. It is a length, a line. You can measure, well, a line segment, and we use units like centimeters or inches or feet or kilometers, and there are a lot more to measure segments or 1 dimension. 2-dimensional has 2 directions, has a length and a width. An example of something that's 2-dimensional is a square. Squares or anything 2-dimensional are measured in units squared or squared units. You can say it either way. So you use the same type of units you use for 1-dimensional, but they become squared. And we could do miles squared or meters squared. Be careful not to confuse miles and meters. Miles is abbreviated as MI. You can always write the entire word out if you want to, and meters is M. We could do, I don't know, yards squared if we wanted to. And then there's 3-dimensional, which has 3 directions. It has a length, a width, and a height. An example would be a cube. So again, we're using the same sort of measurements, but everything will have a cube on it. So let's say we have inches cubed, or feet cubed, or centimeters cubed, or maybe millimeters cubed. Perimeter is your distance around a 2D object. Since it's distance, you're looking at lengths, and since it's lengths, that means your final answer is 1-dimensional, and it should just be measured in units. Okay, so in order to find the perimeter, we add all of the side lengths. So we have this rectangle here. With a rectangle, we know that the opposite sides are the same. So segment AB would be 17 meters long, and segment AD would be 28 meters long. So to find the perimeter, you can add, 17 plus 17 plus 28 plus 28, but a really common way to shorten that is 2 times 17 plus 2 times 28. Your preference, it doesn't matter how you like to do it. So if I put those together, that will give me 90. But what's really important is that you're using units. They gave us the unit, which is meters, so perimeter should be meters. Don't put square. Square would be used for area. Don't put cubed, because cubed would be used for volume. If they do not give you a specific unit, then you would just write units, and you can use the letter U as an abbreviation. All right, so now let's find the area. Area is the amount of flat space inside of a 2D object. It's essentially the number of squares that fit within that shape. There are different formulas. It depends on the shape, but we're only going to be looking at squares or rectangles, so we're going to use base times height. That's also the same thing as length times width, which you might be a little bit more comfortable with. So for that rectangle that's provided, we're going to do 28 times 17. And 28 times 17 is 476, and our unit is meters because it's area squared. Essentially what's happening is you're multiplying a meter times a meter, and if you remember our discussion from multiplying polynomials, you add the exponent, so a meter times a meter is a meter squared. Volume is the amount of space inside a 3-dimensional object. It's also known as the capacity. Again, there are a lot of different formulas that we will talk about, I believe, second semester, but we're going to look at cubes and rectangular prisms for this unit. To do it, you just multiply length times width times height. So in this rectangular prism that we have, we're going to do 13 times 8 times 10. So if we multiply those together, that gives us 1,040. Our unit is inches, but because it's volume, it should be cubed. Inch times inch times inch. You see 3 of them. That's why it's cubed. It's 3-dimensional. The dimension or the should match the unit. So if it's 3D, cubed, unless you're talking about something like surface area. Volume is cubed, area is squared, length is just units. All right, so now let's talk about this perimeter with actual polynomials. This is why we went over our polynomial notes prior to doing this, just to kind of refresh on how to do this. So the first thing we're going to do is find perimeter. Remember that in a rectangle, the opposite sides are the same. So this is 2x plus 5, and this is x minus 2. I am going to write it as, rewrite that. Since I have 2 sides that are x minus 2, I'm going to write it as 2 times x minus 2 plus my 2 sides that are 2x plus 5. You don't have to write it that way. You can write out x minus 2 plus x minus 2 plus 2x plus 5 plus 2x plus 5. This is just a little bit shorter. All right, I'm going to have to distribute the 2. So that gives me 2x minus 4. Distribute this 2. That gives me 4x plus 10. And then I'm just going to combine like terms. So I have 2x and 4x, which is 6x. I have negative 4 plus 10, which is 6. I need my units. There is no unit given to me, so I am just going to write, you can either do a U or you can write units on the end. Now we're going to find the area. To find the area, I need to multiply the length and the width, or the base and the height. So I need to multiply 2x plus 5 and x minus 2. These are 2 binomials. To multiply 2 binomials, we distribute the terms in the first binomial to the terms in the second binomial, which is also known as FOILing. So I'm going to do 2x times x, which would be 2x squared. 2x times negative 2 would be negative 4x. 5 times x would be 5x. And 5 times negative 2 would be negative 10. Now I'm going to combine like terms. 2x squared does not have a like term. However, negative 4x and 5x can be combined to give us x. Negative 10 does not have a like term. I need my units. Again, no unit was provided, so I'm going to write the word units or put a U. This is area, so it should be squared. Now we're going to look at a volume problem of a rectangular prism. All right, to find the volume, we do length times width times height, so we can multiply them. We can multiply them any order. If there's a monomial, I usually like to put it first just because I like the way it looks better. And it doesn't matter what order you write them in, again, like I just said. So once you have your 3 polynomials, you can decide what 2 you want to multiply first. I am just going to do these 2 first, so I'm going to distribute the x. So x times x is x squared, x times 3 is 3x. So now I need to multiply that new polynomial times that x plus 6. Now we have 2 binomials, so I'm going to distribute. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 6 is 6x squared. 3x times x is 3x squared. And 3x times 6 is 18x. Now I will combine my like terms. X cubed does not have a like term. 6x squared and 3x is 9x squared. And then 18x does not have a like term. I need a unit. It doesn't give me one, so I write the word units, and because this is volume, cubed. For our last example, we are considering a rectangular prism and we are matching each expression with the correct measurement. So we have 3 expressions and we have 3 different measurements in words. So length of the prism, area of the base, and volume of the prism. What we're really looking at is making sure that you understand the units of these measurements. So length is just units. Area would be units squared, and volume would be units cubed. So you want to look at the 3 expressions to the right and see which one just has x, which one has x squared, and which one would have x cubed. Now, they're not fully multiplied, so you may not be able to see the x squared and the x cubed, but you should hopefully be able to look at it and decide. So which one has x? I think that one's pretty obvious. I think that is the 2x plus 1. So 2x plus 1 right here is just x, so that has to be length. So we're going to write a next to that one. X squared. So if I look at the top one, I have an x, and an x. If I multiply those together, that is going to give me x cubed. So that is going to be your volume. So I'm going to put C next to that one. And on x times 2x plus 1, I have an x and an x. And if I multiply them, that gives me x squared. So that is going to be your area.